Welcome back to another episode of the Association Spotlight Series. I'm Lake Morehouse, and we have a new guest today. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Okay, my name's Lakie Delida, and my current role is Adult Drug Court Coordinator for Mercer County.
Wow, that's great. And from what I can understand, it's been a newer role for you.
Yes, I've only been in the role for about 2 months.
Oh wow, how so far has it been? You enjoying it?
It's interesting, and it's definitely different from what I'm used to, but
Sure.
learning to love it.
Yeah, great.
A little bit more every day.
Well, that's good. It's good it's going that way rather than the other way, which is always nice. So yeah, on that, I guess, before this, where did you come from career-wise? And you can kind of get into that a little bit for us and with your background.
So just to start, I'm a person in long-term recovery from opiate use disorder.
Mm-hmm.
I began my career as a PRSS, which is a peer recovery support specialist,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked in several sober living facilities as I was taking myself through college.
Okay.
During college, I went to Bluefield State University,
Mm-hmm.
and I graduated with a concentration in psychology, but my bachelor's degree is social sciences.
Okay.
Since then, I have had numerous roles. One was at the Beckley Comprehensive Treatment Center as a counselor too, and that was actually somewhere that I was a patient beforehand.
Okay.
So it was really interesting coming back as a counselor and to work there when I had formerly been a patient. And then this amazing role opened at Southern Highlands,
Mm-hmm.
and I put in my application and got the position. And it was essentially just a case management position. So I
Okay.
kind of started at the bottom of the ranks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I worked there as a case manager for about 2 years. And that was with our office-based medicated assisted treatment program.
Okay.
So we dealt with Suboxone, Sublocade, and Vivitrol for people who also struggled with opiate use disorder
Right.
and alcohol use disorder, which I could identify with.
Sure.
So it was really just neat working with people who had the same struggles that I did and being able to share my experience and how I'd overcome some of those barriers.
Yeah, absolutely. It just kind of came full circle. It sounds like, seeing both sides of the spectrum there.
It did, and they gave me a lot of room to grow at Southern Highlands, and I'm super grateful for that. At the end of my 4.5 years with them, I was actually the director of office-based medicated assisted treatment.
Wow.
And I was doing the oversight for 4 substance use disorder clinics.
Wow. Yeah.
So we had the clinic in Princeton, we had the clinic in Welch, Mullins, and the newer clinic that's at Rockview.
Right. Oh wow. Well, that's great. What do you think? Maybe would you say that you found, if you could see some of the folks that you were helping as a recovery coach and things like that and similar, that you had been there, and that when you tell your story to them, did that, maybe I'm sure it resonated more with them, or could you tell?
I think because I'm able to speak the same language
Mm-hmm.
that they speak. Oftentimes we come in with our education and we want to use big terminology,
Right.
and sometimes we just have to simplify it.
Exactly.
And sit down and meet them where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You just got to kind of break it down, and like you said, sometimes the jargon and the scientific parts of it may be a little bit over, and you just got to.
I understand what you're going through. I've
Yep.
been there myself. I know you can make it through this, because if I can, anybody can.
Right, exactly. You're a living, breathing result of that, and a testament. So,
Right.
Well, that's great. What would you say? I'm sure it's in this world as well, but that you've loved most about your positions in behavioral health, and I know you've had a few different ones, but kind of maybe some big takeaways that really make it worth your while.
Just watching people progress in their recovery, and when we sit down and do SMART goals with them,
Mm-hmm.
They kind of limit themselves. They're
Okay.
I set smaller goals, and we want to teach them to be, realistic and attainable, but sometimes they'll cap their own potential.
Right. Yeah. They live. Yeah.
Not intentionally at all. They just don't believe in themselves.
It's the confidence part of it, right?
Right. So watching people learn to love themselves and meet those goals and achieve things that they never dreamed possible, that is absolutely my favorite part.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. It's it just probably lights you up.
Yes.
Oh well, that's great. maybe some advice. Again, we're always here talking about the behavioral health industry in the state and how there's so many things that we can fix, and there's some challenges, and there always are, especially with workforce. It's still not the only industry that's happening in, but certainly very, very evident with our workforce shortage ever since COVID exacerbated a lot of things. So what would you maybe say to some potential people looking to get into a career in behavioral health, and some things that you might tell a young person that is kind of on the fence?
Yeah.
Or not even necessarily a young person, I'm sorry, someone who has not been into the industry or the field yet.
Right. If that's something you're interested in, absolutely, set your goals, set the smaller goals, meet the smaller goals, and achieve the bigger goals. There's going to be plenty of people that tell you that you can't do this or you can't do that, or you'll never achieve this goal. Don't believe them.
Right.
It's actually really funny. I was a participant in adult drug court.
Okay.
In 2012, I think. Yes, it was 2012. And I was not a successful graduate of that program.
Right. So, yeah.
So the fact that they asked me to come back and run the program that they kicked me out of.
Wow. You can't, it's like, you can't even almost believe it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, when they first asked me if I wanted the position, I was like, I don't think that I do. Like, I'm really happy with what I'm doing. I love watching people in their recovery. And then, I prayed about it.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And
yeah,
after much internal debate and conversations with people that have been a huge part of my support group, I decided to make the transition.
Yeah.
Judge Sadler, who is my current boss.
Wow.
Because I work for the Supreme Court of West Virginia, which is absolutely insane.
Isn't that? I know. If you 10 years ago, you tell your your past self, like, hey, you'll never guess what we're going to be doing here.
And like with the history of incarceration, it's not often that we see people kind of achieve those types of goals.
Right.
He was the one that dealt with my CPS case. Like, during my addiction, I lost my kids. He was my sentencing judge, and he actually sent me to prison.
What? Yeah. How long were you incarcerated?
I was incarcerated overall about 22 months.
Okay.
So when I came out, I actually went to treatment at a facility that's not open, unfortunately, anymore. It was an amazing facility for women that was down in the bottom part of the state. Okay. Really just authentic people that ran it and made it a place where I could grow and develop and learn to be, who I am today, and learn to love myself a little bit at a time. Right.
What would you think that you kind of attribute your bounce back, your journey to get everything is kind of straightened out again? What were kind of your motivational things? I know you said you had a good support group and love and confidence and things. But.
I did. It was actually being in prison that kind of changed things for me, because after I'd gotten kicked out of drug court, I had accomplished about a year of incarceration time between the home confinement and actually being in and out of the jail on sanctions and things of that nature. Right. And when I went back in front of the judge, they were like, do you want to go to treatment? I was like, absolutely not. That's insane. Yeah. Because I'm parole eligible. Like, I'll just go finish my time and get out on parole and do what I have to do. God had other plans for me. So I ended up at Tigard Valley Regional Jail, and there was a girl there. She was working with a sponsor, and she carried herself different, and her attitude about being there was different. And, she was just so at peace. And I wanted what she had. So I asked her, what she was doing differently, because the rest of us were miserable.
Oh, of course.
Prison is not a fun place to spend time. No. Right? And she told me that she was working a 12-step program, and that a sponsor was coming in to Tigard Valley Regional Jail to work with her through her steps, and I started meeting with that sponsor.
Oh, great.
And through reading literature and understanding that I didn't know how to stay clean outside of those walls, right. I realized that I needed to go to treatment. Yeah. So suddenly I was filing for Rule 35, which is a reconsideration, and I was like, please give me another chance to do this. It's been an amazing journey.
Wow. Yeah, it is. That's quite an inspiration to all right there. It's possible.
Right, it is, absolutely. So my clean date is May 7th of 2013.
Okay.
So I'm coming up on 11 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Super excited.
Oh, that decade, the double digits has to feel good, right, when that hits.
Yes, absolutely. And there's plenty of people that would still say that I don't deserve to be in the position that I'm in.
Sure.
And that's okay. Like, I don't need 100 fans.
No.
You know, I just need for a few people to believe in me and give me a chance to make the difference.
Yeah.
You know, being a participant in the program that I'm running is difficult. Like, these people face a lot of barriers. You know, some of them have CPS that they're dealing with. They don't have safe housing. They've never been introduced to 12 steps. They weren't in treatment. So, you know, just helping them have access to those resources.
Right.
And like getting them the support group that they need and deserve in order to be successful.
Yeah, just equipping them with these tools that exist that you know they can work.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and just because you see the confidence and hopefully, you know, can have a similar, you know, turnaround there. So was there any point when you were deciding on coming back into the behavioral health world when you had talked about maybe being on the fence career-wise, was there any sort of hesitation because like maybe not some PTSD, but some trauma there around your recovery, thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to go back in this world that might be kind of triggering for all the things that I've went through, being just on the other side of that. Was that a little bit in your thoughts?
Well, you know, just to be quite honest, I still have a trauma response
to
figures of authority.
I'm sure.
Like, it's still really uncomfortable for me to talk to my boss, and it's still, you know, not easy to call myself a probation officer. Like, when I swore in under the Constitution and was given that badge, I was like, holy crap. And then as I put it around my neck, it was almost like it was on fire. I was like, I don't know if I want to.
What is this again? What am I doing?
Yes, it was just a very surreal experience.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, but I have positive experiences with law enforcement today. You know, I work very closely with our home confinement officers in Mercer County. I'm you know, employed by the probation department of West Virginia, the Supreme Court. So I'm trying to still learn to overcome some of those barriers and those, you know, instant responses.
Sure. And I'm sure and naturally that will just take time. There's no turn off and on switch to that. You just have to kind of know that and learn that this is going to be always going to be working at that, right? Yeah.
Like, people that still have those kind of feelings, like, I need them to know that's a normal process.
Right,
like, people who have been incarcerated are fearful of law enforcement, and you know, being honest and open with your probation officer is not easy.
Right.
Even when your probation officer is in recovery too.
Right. It's still, there's some sort of, like you said, a barrier. There's still something there that just, it makes, you know, it makes
like your natural response is to not tell the truth, because those manipulation techniques and deflection techniques that you learned in addiction are how you survived for so long.
Right. You almost become that, you don't even know you're doing it kind of thing. That's just kind of your default when speaking.
Right, absolutely.
Probation.
So learning to change those behaviors are like the biggest part of my job.
Yeah.
Like cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, like learning to change your thinking. And that's, you know, something that I'm still working on myself.
Oh yeah, I think we all are. Give anyone that, you know, incarcerated or not, in recovery or not, I think that's always a daily.
Yeah, like nobody likes to get pulled over, right? Everybody has that panic.
You do, even if you're not doing anything wrong. You're like, oh my gosh, there's, you know, you see the lights behind you, and you're right, you just have that something like, oh no, you know. So yeah, I think that's just a natural human being, a human. So
yes,
part
absolutely.
of it. So well, that's great. I mean, what an inspiring story. I hope that you know, everyone can hear that, and if they're having any sort of thoughts or hesitation about anything like that will kind of maybe give them a little bit of a boost there, and know that it's everything. Right. These things are possible.
And it gets better.
Yes.
Like, early recovery is not easy. Like, the first year recovery was kind of like that pink cloud that they talk about, you know, because you're accomplishing all those small goals fast, and it's triggering that dopamine response in our brain, you know, the same thing as using drugs.
Right.
So, like, yes, I worked this step. Yes, I worked that step. I got my driver's license back. I had a visit with my kids. Mm-hmm. You know, I was able to secure my first apartment. So that first year is like full of dopamine.
Yeah.
And it feels really good.
Oh yeah.
The second year things kind of slow down.
Kind of plateaus a little bit, and that's when it's like got to be more so on it, right? Because you're having less and less of those big turnarounds like you're talking about.
Right. So that's why it's so important to build that support group and in early recovery, and to investigate what kind of resources are out there to help you.
Yeah.
Division of Rehabilitative Services helped me go to school. I went through the Leadership Academy, which gave me, additional tools to learn how to help people.
Yeah.
The C-CAR recovery coach classes, like, get involved.
Yeah.
Meet people, get your name out there.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing, special or extraordinary about my story. Like, there are people that are out here accomplishing these things every day. Mine's just being put in the spotlight.
Well, I'll respectfully disagree, because it is a great story. But I know exactly where you're coming from on that. But yes, incredible story, I think, and I think that's all kinds of great advice there. Really, really do. So that's I appreciate your time today and coming up to join us, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.